Okay, hello, welcome to the Janus community meeting. It's happy Thursday to everybody. Let's get into the Halloween spirit. Thanks for Jason to starting this theme. It's episode 21, it's October the 12th, and Tom is, let's say, luckily for us, back from PTO. Maybe not so lucky for him. And I will give a shout out today to the naked mole rats. I found out on the weekend how resistant they are to cancer, for example, and this could be some new medicine for the future. And look into it. I was fascinated by their resilience. And now we jump over to our agenda. Nothing added, so we can directly go to any open forum stuff, or maybe we need some update from Tom. I just hand over.
Do I have any updates?
I don't know. Do you? I have no idea. I was just.
I may have a slight update on the dynamic plugin stuff. We don't have a demo to show at this moment, but we are pretty close to merging the support into our backstage CLI fork. So we will have, like, David's working on backend stuff, and that's mostly done at this moment. And what remains is enabling the support for front-end plugins, which seems to be working fairly nicely. In the end, we decided to, for this moment, abandon our prerequisite on the declarative front-end system, new front-end system evolution in the upstream backstage, because this is too much in flux, too much moving, too much changing its scheme. So at this moment, we are basing it on the current front-end system, and surprisingly, most of the stuff works. So we have dynamically loaded plugins which are full page or partial page, and we have theming support, and we have the routing support there. So once we have the CLI changes merged, we should begin, we will begin experimenting with rebuilds of our other plugins and starting to add them to the Backstage showcase as a dynamic plugins and see how it behaves, how it works. And that will allow us to basically have plugins both on front end and back end built independently from the core and pluggable before the Backstage instance starts, but without the requirement of having them baked in into the image itself. To facilitate the deployment of such workflow process, David has been working on enabling support for this particular scenario in the Helm chart that we have. So there's a pending PR for it. There are still some changes needed to be done in the PR, namely because we don't have the support in the current Janus showcase image. So David's PR currently points to his own build, which obviously we can't at this moment merge as the default image for a Janus Helm chart. But other than that, it seems we're very much on a very nice trajectory to have these features enabled in Janus very shortly and ready to be experimented with. Yes, Jason.
So if we're going with the current front end system, what does that mean for the future when they actually do get their act together and get the front end system, the new one working? Like, does that mean you know, we'd have to change our, obviously we'd have to change our, you know, build, right? So that'd be a different release, or what does that mean? I don't want to speculate.
Yeah. So that means the configuration in the app config.yaml would have to be adjusted from or migrated from our dynamic frontend system to whatever syntax they end up having for the front-end system evolution, because we tried to use that and it's been changing very much under our hands. So there's no definite scheme at this moment for their system, so we can't say we will be compatible. We don't know that. We can't know that because it's ever changing. So that's one aspect. The other is the build toolkit and basically how you prepare your dynamic plugin to be consumable by a backstage instance. And this depends on multiple factors. I don't think the front-end system evolution in the upstream plays a key role in it. It's more about how you build your backstage instance. And there's been a lot of debate in the upstream if backstage should behave as an application and force or have an opinion on the build toolkit, or if it should behave as a framework like React and allow you to build everything as you wanted. So far, the only proposed solution to all of these problems is the solution we propose. So I think that discrepancies will be fairly minimal if our solution gets accepted without much of a complete rewrite or something. But the biggest issue on the front-end side is that the current plugins, as they are npm packages consumed as npm packages, are built with rollup, and the core application, core front-end application is built with Webpack. If you want to have something used as a dynamic plugin and loaded remotely, it needs to be built through the same tooling, because you need to share the naming conventions for the build artifacts and for chunk naming, for the variable naming and everything. And you also need to have support for that same system of loading remote modules. So our biggest change on the dynamic frontend side is that we will build those plugins through Webpack to produce a consumable builds. The way how we do it and how we do it on both front-end and back-end is that you can take the same code base and just build it through a different pipeline and basically produce a different set of assets from the same code base. So we don't think there will be much changes required if there's any potential migrations to your code base, but you may be required to produce a different set of assets. So, which is I think fairly obvious and unfortunate, but yeah.
So if there's let's just say there's a third-party plugin out there that we want to use in Janus, does that means we'd have to recompile it in order to use it for the dynamic plugins?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and for me, it's hard to give definite answers to this or be very specific around this, because yes, rebuilds are a fairly obvious requirement. On the other hand, with the way how Backstage treats Semver, you also need to release a new plugin version for a new minor Backstage release, right? So there's always something breaking between Backstage releases, for example. So in our case, producing a rebuild and producing a different set of assets, I think is the minor inconvenience in this sense. Alex, how many plugins would we think about rebuilding to be dynamic? So when it comes to Janus plugins, we plan to rebuild them all to produce basically all of these plugins as dynamic assets, dynamically consumable assets. And we plan to provide the recipe for everybody who wants to add their own plugins as dynamics, just for the sake of us distributing a single container, not a code base, basically. We would like to move to a model where we can distribute a container, not a GitHub repository that you will need to change. So in the end, we hope most of the plugins that are not, that you don't consider as a common ground, common use case for everybody, like, I don't know, GitHub repository support or GitLab repository support or authentication or catalog itself or like the backstage search or whatever is in the core. Everything besides that, we hope one day will be a dynamic plugin and you can just plug it in. David.
Yes, I mean, I'm going to continue on what you're just saying. If we focus on the backend side of things, there is here and there was in the last weeks quite a challenge to switch all, at least as a testing with testing purposes, to switch all the plugins for which it makes sense, as Tom just explained, on the backend plugins from static to dynamic, all the plugins which are used in the showcase. I've reached the end of this yesterday. There are because obviously for the backend it's quite it's a bit a challenge because they have to be loaded into Node.js. There is the question of transitive dependencies where they are found. Well, there might be hidden problems related to specific packages. So that was quite important, at least to test this on all the plugins which are currently used by the showcase. We are really at the end now. So today, probably, I hope, I would have Docker or container image available with all the plugins switched from static to dynamic, but available by default, which means that you would be able to, anyone would be able to run, use this Docker image with the normal Helm application, that you use to deploy the showcase. And you should be able to test exactly the same way, with the enable variables, enable fields to enable either OCM or Kubernetes. So this would be quite great if, as many people from the community as possible would be able to do the tests you usually do with this branch, and then really harden the fact that all those plugins switch to dynamic work exactly the same way, in all the details and all the corner case that you have, that every one of you is used to test. So I will, as soon as it's ready, because I still have some some details to fix after my last tests. But as soon as it is ready, I would post a sort of announce on the Janus community, so that anyone would be able to switch to this Docker image for any deployment and test and provide feedback. Any question on that?
I threw this in the chat, but what does it mean? So if we recompile all the Janus plugins to be dynamic, are they still compatible with the vanilla backstage? Like, can I just, if I'm not using Janus? Or...
Yeah, well, the thing here, I mean, I'm speaking is more precisely about the Janus showcase here, in the sense that what I've been preparing is, and the plan for the Janus showcase anyway, was that all the plugins which were previously added into the showcase as static plugins, GitHub, GitLab, Argo CD, all this list, would be made available as dynamic plugins in the Docker image itself. That's not mandatory at all, But instead of having to download that as a dynamic plugin from npm every time you start, they would be made available in dedicated folders in the Docker image itself, which has the positive effect as well to, by default, have them enabled or loaded in the Docker image itself, which means that you would be able to use this Docker image with the old Helm chart and test everything with dynamic plugins instead of static plugins. That's the whole point of this. But it's clearly showcase focused here. Don't know if this answered your question.
I mean, sort of. As far as the plugins themselves, right? I know we had Tom had mentioned, or someone had asked, are we rebuilding them to be dynamic? And
sure.
Or how many? And Tom said, yeah, all of them. So if we rebuild them all to be dynamic, are they still compatible with a vanilla backstage?
So, I mean, for the backend side, you need to, I mean, the assets, well, there are two cases. Either we can change the sources of the plugin for backend plugins. Just to add, for now, there is a limitation that requires you to add a small entry point in the TypeScript code to load the dynamic plugin automatically, where mainly you would put the content of what currently was in the README, the wiring code mainly, because for now it's something that you add manually into the main backend app. So you still have to add maybe, I'd say 10 lines of code, something like that, just a sort of wiring code. So you can either do that in the initial plugin, in which case the sources would still be compatible, but the built assets would be different, the same for the front end. And in the case of the backend, we also have to generate a dedicated, package.json, a dedicated derived package, because we also change the dependencies. Obviously, there are a number of dependencies which move to peer dependencies, because we typically want to share all the core backstage packages and not have them, loaded privately by every dynamic plugin. So from the backend side, since it's dynamic loading inside Node.js, it requires changing a bit the package.js. So clearly there is a derived, set of assets which comprises also a derived package.json. So that's clearly a new package suffixed with, whose name is suffixed with dynamic, and which derives from the main package. But all this is really, built assets. It's not related to, anything on the source side would be compatible with normal plugins.
Simple answer to your question, Jason, is no, because we are targeting a different runtime, basically. And we're targeting something that is equipped to understand these specific assets. So on the front-end side, our products of the build are JavaScript and CSS files that you can load from a server as you would a completely built React application. It's not an npm package that is installable and consumable as components that you can import into your code and then build an application from it. It's the build assets right away. So therefore, you can't use those assets in a vanilla backstage application. Similarly, on the backend side, in this case, it is an npm package, but it doesn't carry all its dependencies it needs to for a static resolution. It kind of assumes everything is already there, what you have in peer dependencies, for example, or it's bundled within. So on the backend side, it can result in a payloads or build artifacts that can be used as a static plugins. I don't think it's a rule. I think the most truthful answer to your question is no. you can hit issues if you would try to use it in the vanilla. The way how we see this to overcome this issue is to upstream our solutions and therefore have a standardized format within the Backstage community for dynamic plugins. And that means you either can produce static plugins and use them as you are used to using them now, or you would create a dynamic plugin, and there would be something within Backstage, within every Backstage instance. It can be an optional, it can be a additional plugin manager or something, but it would understand those assets and would allow you to use it right away. So that's our end goal with this. We're creating a new format for all the plugins in the upstream, basically.
Yeah, well, I mean, about the question just asked, it seems to me that you really summarized it well, Tom, in the fact that for dynamic plugins, all the assets are really built code, but there is no source here. You know, when you want to be compatible with the old way, static plugins, what you are interested in are really sources, you know, packages with all the source that will be included into. So, I mean, it's just two distinct type of assets which are generated from the same source, but the source is still common. And
as the question chat, if we're gonna provide two flavors for the time being separately, static and dynamic, yes, we will provide both, because we want those plugins to be installable both as a static and used in any other incompatible Backstage instance, and also as a dynamic plugin. So ideally, we will do that. It's not stating a commitment at this moment, but ideally we would do that until we have an agreed on format in the upstream community that this is something that can be consumable by everybody. Until then, we need to provide both because we want our plugins to be used by everybody.
By the way, on the backend side, there is also something specific, which is the private dependencies. If you want to think about a package, pre-built package, which is available at the dynamic plugin, it has to be, self-contained and contain also the private dependencies as embedded node modules. So that might still lead us to having two distinct generated assets, a dedicated package which would contain, the built asset for the dynamic plugin plus the corresponding private dependencies inside embedded node modules, because we might want to avoid having this, node modules, embedded module dependencies in node modules bundled in the normal, package that is pushed on registries. So that there is, there are some specific aspects on the backend side we have to think about in order to conclude if we want to have just one package or two packages, two distinct assets in terms of packages.
Okay. Do we have any more questions or additions to our agenda? I would say going once, going twice, and we're getting nearly half an hour back. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for the update, Tom. Good to have you back here. And I would say see you in all our known channels, and latest in 2 weeks again. Have a wonderful rest of your day and hopefully a great weekend. Happy Friday then for tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.